Welcome back to Every Indie Game Ever. If you didn't watch my first video, I'm trying to get through every single free-to-play indie game on Steam, of which there are over 8,124 games. In the last 2 days, I've played through 8 or 9 of these games, and 19 more have been added to the store, so I really need to pick it up. To that end, I'm going to change how I rate these. And if there's a lot of hoops to jump through in order to play the game, I'm just going to kind of skip on past them and move on to the next one. Now, this isn't explicitly a cry for help, but my family is keeping an eye on me. So I decided I'm going to adjust my ranking system a little bit. So before I was trying to take into account the design of the game, the amount of effort that went into it, and that kind of thing. But I think I'm going to change it so it's a little more streamlined to just how much enjoyment I got out of the game. That way everything will move a little bit more quickly. I have over 8,000 games I'm trying to get through, which is probably never going to happen, but we'll see. But that's just going to be a flat rating scale. Did I have fun or not? So the fourth game that I'm trying was called Zombie Panic Source. Now this one gave me a bunch of trouble, which I expect with a lot of these older games. I tried to launch it again and again and again, and eventually I got it to work for a minute, but there was no players in the game. It seemed to be strictly PvP, so I tried to explore a map, but it turns out that it freezes you in place while waiting for more players, so I couldn't even do that. So I went ahead, I quit out, and I moved on to the next game. 0 out of 10 because I couldn't actually try it. Game number 6, Dystopian. This one I was actually able to get to work in a windowed mode. A very tiny window. It gave me a little bit of trouble because I couldn't use the mouse, except to look around, but if I tried to click anything, it would close my game window. But after some trial and error, I was finally able to play through the tutorial level, and then I jumped into a match where I found out that there's actually still an active player base. I think there was 6 or 7 people on at least one of the servers. I ended up spectating for a little bit. It wasn't really my cup of tea. Overall, I would give this game a 2. I'm really surprised it's still active, though, that there's still people playing a game that's as old as it is. I believe 2006 was the release year. So that's pretty impressive. It also had a really trippy hacking mode where you went into cyberspace to achieve objectives, and that was pretty interesting. I don't know if I've seen that before, because your body would remain in the physical world and was vulnerable to the enemy, so you had to have someone guarding you while you went to shut off turrets or open doors or whatever it is. So given that unique mode, I think I would actually boost this up to 3 out of 10. Game 6 was called Echelon Book 1. I had another similar problem. I couldn't get it to open on my computer. I got a text box or a launch screen to appear, and when I clicked in the blank areas, I could hear buttons being pressed, but no matter what I did, I couldn't get to launch from there. So I went searching into the forum on Steam, and I found this user that said this game only worked on Windows 2000, XP, Vista, I forget what else. And I wasn't willing to jump through the hoops required to actually get into the game on this computer, because I have so many to go through, but so I can't rate this game either. The next game was absolutely trippy. Brainpipe, A Plunge to Unhumanity. I don't know if there's anyone out there that makes games that are designed around when you're tripping, but if there is, this is definitely one of them. I wasn't able to get this one to fit to screen either, no matter what I tried. But it didn't really matter too much because I was still able to muddle my way through. And eventually I entered a flow state of sorts when I got to around the 3rd or 4th level, I don't remember. There's really only one thing you could do. It reminded me a bit of Geometry Dash, sort of a similar type of gameplay, but very, very weird vibes, kind of like staring at the old Windows screensaver when it was working its way through all those pipes and everything. This one did keep me engaged longer than any of the previous games had so far, so I would have to say 3.8. 3.8 out of 10 for this one. Now the 8th game on this list was actually a breath of fresh air. If you grew up playing video games in the late 90s, early 2000s, you know that there was a certain atmosphere that a lot of these games had, an atmosphere of exploration, because every game seemed unique in its own way. A lot of them just hadn't been done before, or at least were not very widespread, and you couldn't just Google things. So you had to find out in-game what you could do and what you couldn't do, and just play around with it. And they always had these rumors and myths about secrets to uncover, some of which were real and some weren't, like the Scarab gun in Halo 2, or Mew being underneath the truck at the port, Pokemon Blue, Red, and Yellow. And while this next game, Trackmania Nations Forever, came out at the tail end of this era, it still brought back that same kind of feeling. Like, I went in expecting just a basic racing game, and by the end of it, I had found that there was a ghost racing mode, that you could edit your own cars, that you could build your own tracks. There's actually an in-depth track editor. And I remember the Forge from Halo 3, which came out about the same time this did, but I didn't know if that was becoming a widespread thing in gaming yet. But if it wasn't, then this game was ahead of its time, and I actually had some fun with this one. I redid the first race a bunch of times until I could get the gold medal for time, which is something that I hadn't planned on doing. And I had a strong feeling of nostalgia once I actually perfected every turn and got that gold medal, which I was not expecting from this game. And like I mentioned before, you could customize your vehicles and you could even customize the tracks themselves. It was a little bit janky, but it was still fun. So yeah, overall, this was not a bad game at all. I think I would have to give this one a 5 out of 10 just out of pure enjoyment. And yeah, that's all for this video. They're adding more indie games to Steam than I've been reviewing per day, so I'm going to have to keep moving this faster and faster, hopefully. So I'll try to get the next video out within a couple of days. If you like this, don't forget to like and subscribe, and tell me if there's anything you're hoping to see on this list as we go forward. Have a good one, be good, do good, and I'll see you with the next video.